let's go actually into a off-season-ish topic that has kind of been floating around with recent injuries to the starting pitching going into opening day. The Mets have continued to be connected with the free agent market, and according to Will Salmon, the Mets have reportedly checked in on right-handed pitcher Michael Lorenzen. Lorenzen is 32 years old and coming off an All-Star Select 2023, split across time with Detroit and Philadelphia, posting a 4.18 earned run average, a 4.46 fielding independent pitching, striking out 17.8% of batters across 153 innings pitched. He's a 5-pitch right-hander with a high-spin fastball that sits at about 94 to 95 and tops 98, a gyro-style slider with RPMs over 2,500, a two-seam sinker combo pitch in the mid-90s, and a heavy rotation sweeper in the low 80s. In regards to Lorenzen, Salmon stated that though the communication likely reflects a desire to stay connected if there is another injury, rather than an imminent, serious interest or signing. And then 24 hours later, the Mets announced that rotational candidate Max Kranick will begin the regular season on the injured list with a left hamstring strain. Now, also, there has been some reports about the Mets being connected to Jordan Montgomery recently as well. I'm not going to really touch that as much because I feel like that's been talked about a little too much. But as for Michael Lorenzen, I think that this is more of the tier starter that the Mets would be connected to if they do continue to have injuries and want to add somebody like this.
In terms of Lorenzen, I would like this for sure. What I like the Mets have done this offseason, if anything, is not to panic. Like, obviously, we missed out on Yamamoto, which is heartbreaking. But regardless, whether we got Yamamoto or not, we had to add starting pitching depth, and that's what this move would be. He's not an ace. He's not a frontline guy. But with how injury prone our rotation is, you never know when Sebi's going to go down. Senga's already gone down. We should get him back May, June, hopefully. You can never have too many pitchers. And me personally, I don't have as much faith in guys like Jose Budo and Max Kranick, who went down, of course, to really hold down the back end when in the scenario of an injury. So in terms of adding depth, it makes complete sense. He has a 4.20 ERA the past 2 seasons, and this is a move that really would not hurt. It just strengthened our depth.
Yeah, I'm actually really confused as to Lorenzen recently. With the type of stuff that he has, he obviously can keep it in the mid 90s, gas up to 97 to 98. He's got some, good spin rates, some solid shape on his fastball, solid breaking stuff. I'm really confused as to how he doesn't get as much strikeouts, to be honest. I don't really understand that. I don't know if it's a location issue. I don't know if you know as to why, but I have tried to figure that out, and I'm not really sure as to why he does not get as much strikeouts as he does, because the guy has some decent profile stuff with the tools that he does have as a pitcher of the stature that he's been able to obviously show. I just feel like there just would be more strikeout dominance, but there just isn't with Michael Lorenzen. I don't get it with him.
Yeah, he's never been a heavy strikeout guy. I mean, he used to be a reliever, and even then he was like a below average strikeout pitcher.
Yeah.
If I'm going to crack down on it, I think while he has the velocity, his extension is only in the 8th percentile. Like, you are right, his stuff is fairly good. Especially on his breaking pitches, and his fastball shape is nothing special. But with a few mechanical changes, you could definitely see the strikeout potential here. The vertical approach angle, which for y'all who don't know what that is basically just the angle that the ball is traveling at the plate across home plate at. And the lower that angle is, usually the more swing and miss that happens. So if I'm Justin Verlander, he's pitching the ball from a high release point. So the ball crosses home plate at a much more kind of downward angle, which tends to find bats more. Whereas as you look at a pitcher like Christian Javier from his funky release point, the ball is crossing home plate at a bit of an upper tilt. So it's much harder for the hitters to track that. And Lorenzen grades out as about like a lower vertical approach angle, like I said, is better. And so Lorenzen has a pretty downward angle. The angle of his fastball drops into the hitter's bat a little bit more than average. So that could be another aspect.
I'm going to tell you, obviously, there's a there's a certain pitcher that we all know and love and have tracked for a long time between you and me, obviously Tyler McGill, where, he had like that whole adjustment where they tried to turn him into this vertical pitcher, and they kind of turned him into like a guy who looks like he's trying to throw a sinker, but not. Like, that's kind of how I kind of saw it, where they kind of put him over the top, extra drop on his fastball, and then he was throwing 93, 94, and it basically was just catching the barrel of the bat, giving up a lot of hard contact. He was not able to get through, 3 innings or 4 innings consistently, and that's kind of what happened with him last year, but we'll get into him later. As for Michael Lorenzen, I think that this is like one of those solid upside, little bit on the younger side as compared to just an old veteran depth signing that they would make, like, Rich Hill or something, or like, I feel like you're bringing in a piece that would give you kind of just the same feel of what you got from the rotation that they've done so far, where it's kind of below the 30s or in that 30s, kind of those primal years of a starting pitcher. And I think that that's something that they should definitely go after. And I think that as for what his, what his stuff is graded as, it seems like, he's able to expand the zone a little bit with a more of a kitchen sink arsenal. I don't know how they're classifying his pitches, because it looks like he does have a decent usage of a fastball and a sinker and stuff like that. But overall, I think Lorenzen would be kind of a perfect back end support piece, where if somebody doesn't have it, if somebody is on a cold streak, because obviously you're going to be using a 6-man rotation. And personally, at my very best, I would not want 2 of the combination of McGill, Budo, and Lucchesi in there. I'd like to just have 1 of them in there to start off opening day. Obviously, they would have to be healthy, and also the fact of Luis Severino. I think that that's the biggest concern with the entire rotation. It's not really the fact of if he still has it, because we know that there's still talent there and there's still tons that he could offer to the rotation. It's the fact that his health has been a concern for the past 5 years. And he's only pitched about, I'd say, a total of like 210, 220 innings in the last 5 years. So at his best, he probably is the one in this rotation with Senga down there, just mainly because of the just overall raw explosiveness of his stuff. And I think that that's kind of how you see it, is where it's not just like the shape of it or anything. The spin rate is there. The velocity is there. You have a ton of different weapons that he has where, he has a decent kitchen sink on him. So I think that there's a way you could turn him into a strikeout pitcher. I mean, I don't know if turning him into a strikeout pitcher is like a Robert Gesellman situation where you just basically kill him. Michael Lorenzen, I think that there's definitely upside here in where they could tweak a few things as to this guy could give you quality number 3 stuff at his very best, and also just kind of deepen the rotation and support it a little bit better. Now, obviously, last year was his career high in innings pitched, I'm pretty sure. Like, he got 153 innings. He never went anywhere near that feat. But if you could get 120 from somebody like that, in a 6-man rotation, I'm 100% on board with bringing in somebody like Michael Lorenzen. He's never really been a high extension guy, because he is 6'3", like it's a decent frame to go off of. And I don't know if he does that to kind of just stay healthy or something. I definitely would go after somebody like Michael Lorenzen, especially with 3 injuries already to your starting rotation with Senga, Peterson, and now Kranick, who obviously is not going to be a huge contributor to the rotation, but definitely a depth option beyond the Lucchesis and the Budos and the McGills. And also, before you land on going and turning to your pitching prospects that you just don't want to rush or anything, until they're actually ready for the major league.
Yeah, in addition to that, there's nothing that's stopping you from experimenting with Lorenzen in the bullpen as a long reliever, or any of these guys in like a Trevor Williams role from 2022 that would open a door for a guy like Christian Scott, Dom Hamill, or Mike Vassell to make starts in the majors. So really, there's unlimited possibilities here. You're not necessarily blocking off a rotation spot from young guys who you want to see pitch, because these guys, especially Lorenzen and Manaea, they've pitched in tons of different environments and situations. So I think I'm totally on.